Well, joining me now, Attorney Randall Schoenberg, former FBI Special Agent Bobby Chacon, Democratic strategist Dave Jacobson, and Republican strategist and talk radio host Andrea Kaye. Another night, another full house. Welcome to you all. Randall, let me start with you, the legal mind here. Let me read part of the Deputy Attorney General's statement. Let's put it up on screen for our viewers. My decision is not a finding that crimes have been committed or any prosecution is warranted. I have made no such determination. What I have determined is that based upon the unique circumstances, the public interest requires me to place this investigation under the authority of a person who exercises a degree of independence from the normal chain of command. Randall, CNN is now learning from a source that Rod Rosenstein had not read the Comey memo as of last night. So what is it that got him to this point? What do you think?
My thinking already last week was that this was in the works. Rosenstein, if you see how it played out with the firing of James Comey, he had to know that this was going to be the next step. And I think a lot of people were very critical of him, but I think too soon. He needed a few days at least to mull things over, to consider them and prepare this next step. He obviously had to speak with Bob Mueller before announcing that Mueller was going to be appointed as special counsel, so that must have taken place over the last several days, and I think this was Rosenstein's plan from the very beginning. That's my guess.
All right, Andrea, to you. On Monday, the White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer was asked about a special prosecutor. Listen to what he said.
There's frankly no need for a special prosecutor. We've discussed this before. You have two Senate committees that are looking into this. The FBI is conducting their own review. And I think if you even look at what Acting Director McCabe said last week, he made it very clear that they have the resources that they need and that the work continues.
Okay, that was Sean Spicer on Monday. Now there is a special counsel that's been appointed. The president's response in a statement, let's share that with our viewers before you respond. This is what the president said. As I have stated many times, a thorough investigation will confirm what we already know. There was no collusion between my campaign and any foreign entity. I look forward to this matter concluding quickly. In the meantime, I will never stop fighting for the people and the issues that matter most to the future of our country. What is your sense of the legal and political state for this White House?
Well, I think the stakes are huge because I think what this is about an attempt to undermine a free and fairly elected president of the United States. You know, what a difference a party makes. A year ago, we had a clandestine meeting of an attorney general with the husband, a former president, of the wife of someone that she was investigating, and there was no call for a special prosecutor at that point. And then James Comey turns right around, assumes the role of attorney general, says that no prosecutor would prosecute crimes that were actually uncovered, and yet still no special prosecutor. Here, there has been no crime that has been that Donald Trump has been accused of. And in fact, I'm glad we might actually, with Comey out of the way, have a real investigation, because I would like to know, and it has not been explained to me, what the probable cause was that justified a sitting Democrat president to have his administration or anybody in it investigate an opposition party candidate and his team. Furthermore, what evidence is there that there was any collusion with Donald Trump? What evidence is there that we even know that there was Russian hacking?
Trying to find out, right?
Yeah,
that is what they're trying to find out.
But aren't we supposed to have a special prosecutor on the heels of finding out that there has been a crime and investigating a crime first? Right. That hasn't happened here.
Well, look, I think going back to your initial question, Sean Spicer has not only lost complete credibility, but he's totally incompetent. I mean, the fact that the White House is openly contemplating hiring a different press secretary, and also in conjunction with that, overhauling the entire White House staff, as reported by the New York Times, Politico, CNN, I think all underscores the fact that the president has lost complete confidence in Sean Spicer, the entire communications apparatus in the White House, and his senior staff. But I think this underscores the broad turmoil that you're seeing within the White House, the ongoing disarray, the confusion, the chaos, and it's reflective of what we saw in the Trump campaign.
I do want to play, Bobby Chacon, I haven't forgotten that you're here, but I do want to play sound from the president. He gave a commencement speech on Wednesday at the Coast Guard Academy, hours before the announcement that Robert Mueller had been appointed. Take a listen. This is clearly a president that was bristling from all the controversies.
You will find that things happen to you that you do not deserve and that are not always warranted. But you have to put your head down and fight, fight, fight. Never, ever, ever give up. Things will work out just fine. I guess that's why I went.
Bobby Chacon, to you, that's a defiant president there saying fight, 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 but he is in a big fight now that there is a special counsel that's been appointed. What do you make of the fact that the White House was not even told this was happening until the order was signed by Rod Rosenstein?
Well, I think that's a result of the way things have played out, you know, in the past. The abrupt firing of Director Comey, I think, took everybody by surprise. It certainly took the Deputy AG by surprise, especially when the White House used his memo as their justification, and we all know how upset he was about that. So I think I don't think he wanted to give them or to give the White House any chance to interfere with this process and any opportunity to start backtracking on things and to try to prevent him from doing it. And so I think it's a direct outgrowth of the way that the White House summarily dispatched Director Comey without really consulting the Deputy AG, even though the Deputy AG wrote that scathing memo, but then walked that back a bit, you know, when the White House started to use it as justification for Comey's firing.
All right. Randall, to go to you, I want to pick up on what Andrea said right at the beginning. Sure. Andrea seemed to be saying that there's an element of impropriety here in the appointment of a special counsel in this sequence, in that before it's been determined that something of a criminal nature had gone down, and here we have a special counsel. Give us your perspective on that. Respond to Andrea.
Well, I think Rosenstein was concerned with a lot more than just speculation. We have to remember that in July of last year, during the campaign, it was candidate Trump who called on the Russians to hack into Hillary Clinton's emails. They ultimately did that with her campaign manager, John Podesta, and released those emails later. There are no fewer than 4 senior Trump advisors from the campaign who, it's pretty clear, had significant Russian ties. That includes Flynn, Manafort, his campaign manager, Roger Stone, and Carter Page. All 4 of those have been really very, very accurately, I think, accused of having improper ties and done improper things. For example, Michael Flynn, the National Security Advisor, before he became National Security Advisor, had a conversation with the Russian ambassador where they talked about lifting sanctions. That really is what has led to his firing in February. And so I think there's a lot more than just smoke here. There's real fire with regard to those Trump aides. What we don't know yet is how involved Donald Trump was in any of those contacts. And we still need an investigation now into whether Trump attempted to cover up anything that his advisors had done. And the revelation in just, I think it's the last 24 hours of Director Comey's memos of conversations with Donald Trump, where he tried to get the director of the FBI to lay off his friend Michael Flynn, even after Flynn had been terminated. Those raise a lot of questions that I think Mueller is going to have to investigate, and we'll see where that investigation leads.
All right, Andrea,
yes.
This is the statement from the Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. Listen to what he had to say in the statement. Let me read that. The decision by the Deputy Attorney General to appoint former FBI Director Robert Mueller as a special counsel confirms that the investigation into Russian intervention into our election will continue, as stated last week by acting FBI Director Andrew McCabe. The Senate Select Committee on Intelligence will also continue its investigation into this matter. We talked about the White House perspective on this, but let's talk about Capitol Hill and the Republicans. I mean, before the appointment of Mueller, this was not something they wanted to entertain. They did not want to be talking about a special counsel or independent commission, and here we are.
Yeah, here we are. And I feel like what they've done is they've kowtowed. What Rosenstein did with appointing the special counsel, in my opinion, is basically been a worn-down mother at the checkout line who gave her kid a candy bar because he was throwing a temper tantrum. You know, let's talk about this Comey memo. Is the ink dried on that yet? Did he write this memo after May 3rd when he went under oath and said that he had not been pressured in any way by the Trump administration regarding the investigation, something that he confirmed to Chairman Burr the day before he was fired? You know, in the words of the great Judge Judy, don't come into my courtroom with dirty hands. Comey has some dirty hands involving this investigation.
The Comey memo, according to sources that have spoken to CNN, Comey memo was known by people close to him after he had his encounter with the president. People knew about it. He talked to people about it.
Well,
Then why did he deny it?
Well, he's also got a history,
Of
right,
keeping
of like
these
collecting,
contemporaneous-
methodically writing notes. And so
Well, then why doesn't he come forth with his
look.
memos of other conversations, like with Loretta Lynch after the tarmac? This memo is, and if he believed that Donald Trump had tried to obstruct justice with him back in February, why did he hold on to it? Why did he bury it? Why did he wait until
And
after
that
he
is
was
a legitimate
fired?
question,
Yeah, I
Dave.
think those are totally legitimate questions that need to be answered. But look, at the end of the day, increasingly you're seeing a wave of Republican senators and House members. You've got John McCain, Lindsey Graham, Susan Collins, a number of other senators. You've got Steve Knight, Tom McClintock, Darrell Issa, and California House members, all of which supported Donald Trump, by the way, in the general election, right? All of those folks increasingly supported an outside independent prosecutor. So
They
now
were
you've
in
got,
the minority,
right? They
though,
were in the
right? That's a
minority,
small number.
but now you've got 4 congressional investigations, right? You've got the intelligence committees in the Senate and the House. You've got the Judiciary Committee in the Senate, the House Oversight Committee, which, by the way, Jason Chaffetz, who chairs that committee from Utah, said that he's willing to, if he needs to, subpoena the FBI to get those notes. He wants to see them. He wants to put a bright spotlight on those, because you raise some legitimate questions that need to be answered, but all of which I think is only the beginnings of what we need to do. We also need an independent outside commission, similar to what we saw with the 9/11 Commission, to look at the scope of this.
Okay,
Based upon what? I mean, what is the actual crime that's
obviously,
been alleged
the
here?
Attorney General feels that there is enough here, and it warrants appointing a special counsel, and that has been done. Let me put up Chuck Schumer's statement. Chuck Schumer, of course, the minority leader for the Democrats in the Senate. This is what he said. Former Director Mueller is exactly the right kind of individual for this job, and I have significantly greater confidence that the investigation will follow the facts wherever they lead. I guess this is my question to both of you, Andrea and Dave. Andrew, I hear your exasperation, but doesn't it just come down to following the facts to wherever they lead?
Absolutely, and that's really what makes me exasperated, because I'm not seeing that. I'm hearing things like this Comey memo being put forth as fact, as though it's absolutely fact that Donald Trump tried to obstruct this investigation, when we have the acting FBI director say that that's not true, when we have, under oath, Comey himself said that that was not true, that he had not been pressured in any way by Donald Trump or anybody in the Trump administration. And I'm saying, as well as most Republicans are saying, if we want to have an investigation, let's do a proper Russia interference
investigation. Does this not
investigation.
meet your standards? Is this special counsel, is this not good enough for you? Is this
well, it's not even about the appointment of a special counsel that concerns me. It's the fact that I find out that the FBI was not the ones who actually reviewed the DNC servers to find out whether or not Russia hacked, that it was some hand-picked company called CrowdStrike,
Well, then
that it wasn't even our own investigation.
Dave,
so I'm saying let's have an investigation, but let's have it be properly done, and maybe with Comey out of the way, it might happen.
Dave?
Here's a key element that's not being discussed here, and Donald Trump fired Jim Comey a week ago, essentially, or 8 days ago. But one thing that he did just days later on an interview on NBC with Lester Holt was he said that Russia was on my mind when I fired the FBI director. So it raises real questions of obstruction of justice. Now, we need to hear from the president for sure, no doubt about that, but it does raise the question.
Randall, Andrea, pause.
Okay.
Randall, to you. Let's talk about that. You know, all these different elements, the firing of Comey, the fact that the president said to Lester Holt, I had this Russia thing on my mind, the fact that we now have this memo. I mean, talk to us about, from where you sit, your perspective on the mandate for Mueller and the scope here. Because the thing about these special counsels and these investigations are that they can become something else. They can grow into something else, correct?
Well, that's what's really unclear right now. It's a great question, because Rod Rosenstein is the Deputy Attorney General. Ordinarily, it's the Attorney General who would appoint a special counsel. Now, why did Rod Rosenstein do it? Because the Attorney General, Jeff Sessions, has recused himself, because he was on the Trump campaign, from anything to do with the Russian investigation. So if you look at the Deputy Attorney General Rosenstein's letter today announcing the appointment of a special counsel, he is very careful to stay within the lines. In other words, he only gives Mueller authority to investigate Russian interference with the election, exactly what Jeff Sessions has recused himself on, and anything related to that, but nothing more. And the question will be, will Mueller now request other authority to go into other items? For example, there are allegations coming out today about the Trump campaign knowing about Flynn's involvement with Turkey before he was appointed as National Security Advisor. Those things arguably come outside of the Russia investigation, but are so integrally related to that investigation that they might then be folded into what Mueller's looking into. So we're going to just have to see how far Mueller will take this.